What if the collapse of an empire doesn't start with war, but with the slow erosion of its money? Most people believe empires fall with a bang. Military defeat, rebellion, political chaos. But sometimes they crumble silently, from within, through the decay of their currency. Today, we're asking a question that challenges one of the biggest assumptions in global finance. Will Bitcoin break the dollar empire? Bold thought, maybe even absurd. After all, the US dollar backs the most powerful economy on earth, is held by central banks worldwide, and fuels global trade, debt, and diplomacy. But history whispers warnings. And if we listen closely, we hear echoes from a very different time, ancient Rome. Because this isn't the first time a dominant power trusted its currency as the foundation of global influence. And it's not the first time that foundation began to crack. Let's go back to the beginning and trace the story of how a great civilization's money collapsed and what that could mean for our digital future. In 211 BC, the Roman Republic minted the denarius, a small silver coin that would become the backbone of Roman commerce, conquest, and control. For centuries, it symbolized trust, stability, and state power. The denarius was more than money. It was Rome. It paid soldiers, built roads, funded gladiator games, and moved across continents as the empire expanded. Julius Caesar's face was stamped on it. Emperors used it to communicate their legitimacy. Rome was silver-backed, and silver was scarce. That scarcity gave the denarius its strength. But strength breeds dependency. As the empire grew bloated with military campaigns and bureaucracy, it needed more money. And with silver mines depleted, emperors turned to a dangerous solution: debasement. They began reducing the silver content in the denarius, slowly at first, then more aggressively. What once was nearly pure silver became 90%, then 80%, then 50%. Under Emperor Caracalla, it dropped below 50%. By the time of Gallienus in the 3rd century, some coins contained less than 5% silver, barely more than tin. People noticed, trust eroded, prices rose, markets destabilized, soldiers demanded payment in gold or goods, inflation spiraled, trade slowed, and the empire, still draped in ceremony and power, found itself hollowed from within. The denarius, once a symbol of Rome's might, had become worthless. Attempts to patch the system failed. New coins were introduced, edicts were passed, hoarding was punished, but the damage was done. The monetary system had rotted. And as confidence collapsed, so too did Rome's ability to govern. By the 5th century, the Western Roman Empire fell. Not with a bang, but after centuries of slow internal decay, triggered in part by currency debasement. Now let's jump forward. Today, the US dollar plays the role of the denarius. It is the world's reserve currency, the unit for oil, global debt, trade settlements, and sovereign reserves. Over 88% of all global foreign exchange transactions involve the dollar. Every central bank holds it. Every major economy depends on it. But how sound is it? Before 1971, the dollar was tied to gold. 1 ounce was worth 35. The Bretton Woods system created global financial order after World War II, anchored by the dollar's convertibility to gold. But war is expensive, and so is empire. Vietnam, social programs, global commitments, all demanded money. So the US government did what Rome did. It created more currency, more than it had gold to back. In August 1971, President Nixon made a fateful decision. He ended the dollar's convertibility to gold. The dollar became fiat, backed by nothing but government trust, just like the late-stage denarius. This marked the beginning of a new era, dollar dominance, unshackled from scarcity. At first it worked. America could spend without restraint. Global demand for dollars remained high. Petrodollar agreements with Saudi Arabia ensured oil would be priced in dollars, creating artificial demand. Wall Street boomed. The US could export inflation and import goods. But again, strength bred dependency. The US debt grew, trillions upon trillions. Stimulus became standard policy. The Federal Reserve took center stage, managing liquidity with interest rate tools and quantitative easing. And just like in Rome, people began to notice. From 2008 onward, monetary expansion accelerated. but 2020 marked a tipping point. In response to COVID-19, the Federal Reserve created more than $4 trillion in new currency in under a year. Stimulus checks, corporate bailouts, repo markets, mortgage-backed securities, digital money created at the push of a button. The money supply, M2, jumped nearly 40% in 2 years. And while inflation was transitory at first, by 2022 it exploded. The consumer price index rose to levels not seen in 4 decades. Food, energy, housing, everything surged. Wages lagged, trust faltered. Now ask yourself, when does a currency lose its value? Is it when prices rise? When debt climbs? Or when people stop believing? In Rome, it wasn't a single moment. It was a series of signals ignored until it was too late. Today, we're seeing new signals. Central banks are buying gold at record levels, over 1,000 metric tons in 2022 alone, not just for diversification, but to reduce reliance on the dollar. Countries are exploring or launching central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. BRICS nations are forming trade alliances outside the dollar. China and Russia are settling trades in yuan. The petrodollar, once unchallenged, is under strain. And then there's Bitcoin. Born from the 2008 crisis, Bitcoin was designed as a direct response to fiat debasement. Its supply is capped at 21 million. It's decentralized, transparent, and resistant to manipulation. A digital goal created not by decree, but by code. For years it was dismissed, a fringe technology, speculative, volatile. But in the past 5 years its story has changed. Major institutions are entering. Governments are recognizing or regulating it. Some are even adopting it. In 2021, El Salvador made Bitcoin legal tender. In 2024, several countries introduced proposals to settle trade using Bitcoin. It remains volatile, but its underlying principle, fixed supply, is a sharp contrast to unlimited fiat printing. Is Bitcoin Rome's silver reborn or something entirely new? Let's look at the repeating patterns. Rome debased its coinage to fund expansion. America expands its money supply for similar reasons. The denarius lost trust gradually, then suddenly. The dollar faces rising skepticism globally. Rome's financial collapse weakened its empire. Could the dollar's erosion do the same? One crucial difference is speed. Digital systems accelerate change. What took Rome centuries may unfold in decades or faster. So will Bitcoin break the dollar empire? That's still uncertain. Bitcoin may never fully replace fiat. It may remain a parallel system, a check against abuse, or it may become a lifeboat for nations losing trust in central banks. But one thing is clear. History rhymes, and we're seeing familiar verses. Here are 3 takeaways. First, no currency, no matter how dominant, is immune to decay. Power, without discipline, breeds collapse. Second, monetary trust is fragile. Once people stop believing in the value of money, the fall can be sudden and irreversible. Third, alternative systems thrive when dominant ones falter. Bitcoin isn't just a fad, it's a signal, a reaction to excess, a digital form of resistance. And here's the warning. The dollar's dominance may end not with a declaration, but with a quiet shift. Trade by trade, transaction by transaction. As trust migrates elsewhere, the empire behind it may find itself powerless to stop the tide. So the mystery remains open. Will Bitcoin replace the dollar or simply outlast it? We can't predict the future, but we can read the past and watch the signs. If you found this story thought-provoking, dig deeper. Explore the history of money. Question assumptions. And consider what kind of system we want next. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that challenge the way we see the world. Because history doesn't repeat, but it does echo, and it's echoing louder than ever.